Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of our podcast, European Stories from a Union of Volunteers. This week, we have a special guest that comes from the UK. At 28 years old, she changed her life around, leaving her job, relationship, and house to volunteer in Reykjavik, Iceland. Her involvement in youth work has since then kept growing. Heather Egen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, first question. I would like to ask, how did you come across the volunteering projects, the European Solidarity Corps, or as when you volunteered, it was called the European Voluntary Service?
I had been looking for an excuse or an opportunity to get away. As you mentioned in the introduction, I had kind of done the grown-up thing for a while, and had like you say, a house, a relationship, a job, and was paying bills and just knew where that was going. And I hadn't traveled, I hadn't been to university, and was kind of looking for a way to do those sorts of things, but kind of with a bit of guidance. A year before going on EVS, I had volunteered in Uganda for 3 months, and that kind of got me excited about the possibility. And so then kind of led me to look for different opportunities like that. And I found through the Red Cross, they were doing this international project for a year. And there was a couple of different projects in different countries. And then I think probably because of the youth work that I'd done in the past, or working with vulnerable or people that are facing some challenges, that's when I got linked up to the project in Reykjavik. So I was working in a homeless shelter for women with drug and alcohol issues and mental health issues as well. So yeah, I think Iceland chose me.
Okay. So you mentioned that Iceland chose you, and the work that you had done before kind of led you to that situation. But was there something when you arrived that surprised you? What was your first thought when you arrived in Iceland?
I remember getting on the plane, and I sat with 2 other girls who were joining me as well, and we ended up living together. But I do remember arriving at the house, and everything was very grey, like the design, the architecture was very grey, thinking, what am I doing? Where am I? And how long? I'm going to spend a year looking at this grey country and these grey buildings. But actually, now I come to think of it, that you do learn to love the grey, like the different shades of grey. There's many in Iceland for sure. Yeah. So yeah, the greyness was my first thought.
Okay. Were you able to put some color in the apartment where you were living?
Yeah, I mean, metaphorical color, I think. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now that we're in the apartment where you lived, how was the accommodation like? Was it modern, old? Like, who were you living with?
Mm-hmm. The house had actually been, I'm sure it had been a volunteer house for 6 years, so it was tired. It hadn't been renovated for a while. I thought that was endearing. I thought that was cute. I thought it had personality. There was pictures on the wall of old volunteers that no one knew. There was a few of the guys that I lived with, 3 of them were already volunteering. So they'd done 6 months already. So they kind of showed us the ropes. And there were 7 of us living together in total from different European countries with different experiences, different ages. So yeah, the house, it had a lot of love, a lot of heart, but it was tired and similar to a squat, I think, really.
But did you do anything special, or you and the other volunteers in that house that you remember often, or did you face any problems in the house?
Yeah, both of those things. It was a challenging year. A year's a long time, and a year's a really long time in a cold, winter-prone country. So during the winter months, which I think started in October and finished in April, we would come together and we'd have dinners and we'd eat together and we'd watch films together and really support each other. But we also had challenges, which I think is true of any group of people living together, like cleaning rotas and making noise, or yeah, there was this thing that happened on a Tuesday that should never be mentioned ever again. So there was some altercations we got ourselves into. But I think we kind of said it was the best of times and the worst of times, and it was the chaos that made it beautiful as well.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I mean, sometimes that happened to me, and I had discussions, and then we wouldn't talk for 2 hours, and then, well, nothing had happened, and we couldn't move forward.
Yeah. Life goes on.
more or less what it feels like to be a volunteer, I think.
I feel that.
Now, diving deeper into the work that you have done, what was the thing that you liked the most with your volunteering work?
I think because my volunteering was quite unusual, so I'll just explain that. It was a shelter for homeless women with drug and alcohol issues and mental health issues. So it was a night shelter, so it closed in the day. I was like staff, so I was doing night shifts. I was never on my own, but I'd always be with one other colleague. So if something kicked off, if we needed to call the police, and I don't want to stigmatize people that are homeless, but these are just some of the facts when you're working with people in these fringes of society. It is intense. So I think just having the opportunity to look into and experience a world, because you get to know these women, and these guests and allow them to be free to be them. It was a beautiful old like farmhouse, and there was a few beds there. I think we never turned anyone away, but maybe we had 12 beds. We had a few regulars, so you get to know people, and you really, sometimes it's really hard and crazy, but other times you're sitting down. We watched the Eurovision together, stuff like that. It was like, I'm never going to get that experience anywhere else. It was those relationships, those dynamics, those allowing people who don't often get the chance to be themselves, letting them be themselves. That was really special.
Did you ever feel tired with the night shifts, or
yes,
all the time?
Yes. So it was 1 week on, 1 week off. So 1 week of day shifts. So that's cleaning the house, and then another week of night shifts. So that's starting at 10 p.m. and finishing at 8 in the morning.
Okay, that was intense.
Yeah.
So this is an unusual type of project that when people are selected for this type of project, they have some previous experience. But was there something that you found challenging and that you had to overcome in your work?
I think for me, my EVS experience, it was challenging. Like the work thing, the intense work environment, I could kind of handle because I had done work similar to that in previous experiences. But it was me more, the challenge of the year was kind of exploring and navigating how to manage the life kind of thing. You move to a new country and someone takes care of your like the life admin stuff, like someone sorted out the accommodation and pays for that sort of thing, so you didn't have to do too much adulting too soon. So it was kind of like an opportunity to play, I think, just to kind of explore, but that doesn't mean that it was easy. And I think it was definitely exploring how to survive in a harsh, cold, dark country, and how to kind of have boundaries with regards to work, because that was quite intense. And that was probably at that end of the spectrum. That was some of the hardest stuff that I dealt with. But just trying to juggle it all together, I think, just create some sort of balance to be able to make a life out of the experience rather than it being so intense all the time or so relaxed all the time. Just kind of bringing the things together to have some sort of routine, I think.
And find the balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Was there any specific moment that you found that, okay, I'm managing to find the routine, find the balance, and overcome this duality in your work and in the volunteering project?
I think that would probably have taken us up until spring. So I moved to Iceland in September. It was a dark winter. I shaved my head as a fundraiser in January, but maybe as a coping strategy or some sort of release.
Yeah.
And then by springtime, it kind of, you notice what was going on out in the outside world as what was going on in the inside world. So the light was starting to come. It was getting a bit easier. The sunshine. There was a bit more hope. Like all of the discomfort and hard, challenging feelings, you kind of recognize that they're kind of a phase. They're part of a phase, part of a season. And with the good times comes the bad times, and they continue to roll. So I think it was probably around March and sunshine and spring, and you thought, this is all right, actually. I can handle this. Good.
So now we're diving to another section, and this is more related to the memories that you have from your experience.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that you're at dinner with some friends and the volunteering topic pops up and you want to tell them a story that you had in the volunteering. So what I would like to ask you is, what was the craziest story that you went through in your project in this year?
I mean, I feel like the craziest thing, I can't mention the craziest thing.
No, only the thing that you can mention to the audience.
Wow.
And it can't be shaving the hair. That has been said.
Yeah, and in comparison to everything else that happened, that wasn't even the craziest.
Okay.
It's hard to pick. There's different levels. So there was a couple of times me and one of my housemates, we went on a road trip and we went hiking. So we went to the Highlands, which is in the middle of the country, where you can't drive a normal car there. So it's like otherworldly, like Jurassic Park, but without any trees, because there's no trees in Iceland. And we did like a 4 or 5 day hike and we climbed a glacier and there was just the two of us and having this incredible, all this scenery and nature. And, you know, some people don't make it across the glacier, but I was ignorant and didn't realize how severe this was. And then hitchhiking back to the city, like that was quite an experience. And it's easy to kind of brush that under carpet because that was just like going for a walk in the park. But it was actually, it wasn't just a walk in the park. It was a walk over a glacier. That was pretty crazy. But then there was other incidences with regards to work and, you know, working night shifts as in a shelter, as you can imagine. There are some unusual things that go down in a place like that. And you think, what is happening? This is my actual reality. But for the privacy of the women, I'm not going to share those things. I think it was kind of a crazy time when we realized that me and my housemates, we were trying to make friends with locals and really struggling with that. And I think we spent a bit of time before realizing that we could probably just work on being better friends with each other. And we live with each other. We probably eat together most of the time. Let's work on those relationships. And so it's not necessarily the craziest thing, but it felt crazy trying to make friends with locals and trying to like get the best out of this experience. And then adapting and being like, hang on, what's actually good for us? What's going to work? So that was a process to get through.
Okay. I think we're actually almost reaching the end of the podcast.
Okay.
I would like to ask some checkout questions.
Mm-hmm.
You can take your time. The first one is, how would you describe your volunteering project specifically? In one word. Yeah. In one word, and then if you want, you can develop.
The word that's coming to me is breakthrough.
That's a good word.
Yeah, I'll expand on it. So I think for me, that whole experience was a catalyst of like the last few years I've been traveling, and it's shaken up what I was doing before as to what I want to do now. So yeah, it was a breakthrough of kind of becoming the person that I wanted to be and kind of testing the water. How is it with having kind of going through an organization, through a project? This isn't one word, I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Going through the process of a project that kind of holds your hand and guides you and supports you to have an experience and kind of allow yourself to learn all the things you need to learn, and you can take that with you in the future. Like, I think that was so... It makes you realize that you can do what you want, go where you want, meet who you want, and your life can be whatever you want it to be, but you have to put yourself out there to experience that. Yeah,
definitely agree. And what's one thing that you miss the most?
Oh, I want to say the free food. We got a lot of food donations. People would donate so much cake, and therefore I'd bring it home because no one can eat that much cake and it would go bad. But I don't think I do miss that much cake. That was too much. I think having a common... I live with a large amount of people at the minute now, but having a commonality between you, like the fact that we lived as a group of volunteers all on different projects, but we were going through the same thing at the same time, more or less, that a kind of unity, that was, I miss that.
Miss living with the 7 people from different countries and sharing a similar experience.
Yeah, the shared experience.
And this is a very loaded question, But yeah, what does solidarity mean to you? How would you describe it?
Solidarity to me used to mean people coming together and for a common interest. But what I've found in stuff that I've done since is that it can often mean it's the thought of doing stuff joined up, but in action, it can sometimes be what kind of tears us apart. Like from a privileged point of view, like we're doing a thing and it's amazing. But I think true solidarity is when we really look left to right and see not just who are we going to have fun with and who will make our experience better, but how can we support others to make everyone's experience better, and whether that's in the short term or the long term. But that to me, solidarity is making sure that no one gets left behind.
Do you have any example that you could share from your volunteering year, or any example where you were more aware or focused on the others and not just yourself?
Well, the thing that's springing to mind now is when I had an amazing leaving party, but I made sure that everyone was involved. So it was coming up at the time when there was a few of us leaving the country at the same time. So I got my friend's band to play in our front room. I invited all the volunteers. I invited anyone we tried to make friends with or work with or know through that experience. It was like an open house. There was food, there was music, there was dancing, there was good vibes. So I think that for me is me trying to make sure no one gets left behind. Like, yeah, come along. Your friends are friends. Yeah. Come, have a nice time. Enjoy.
Okay, so last question.
Okay.
What song represents your volunteering and why?
I have thought about this a lot, and there is
many songs.
Yeah, there's such a medley. And even since I've left Iceland, because I've been back a few times and been paid to work there, which was amazing. So I've started to explore a bit more Icelandic music. But the song that kind of sums up my experience, I think, is it Rihanna, We Found Love in a Hopeless Place? I think, those words specifically sum up my experience. Yeah, we found love in a hopeless place.
Because of the darkness of the winter?
Yep.
Definitely. Okay, so thank you so much for this conversation.
You're welcome.
Hope you enjoyed it. And for the listeners, next week we have a new podcast with Paula. So see you then.
Thank you so much.
Bye.